My organization, for one, deeply appreciates the fact that Dieter is here this evening. Dieter has held post, of course, both with the former UN monitoring mission in Abkhazia, which no longer exists, and with the OSCE mission in Georgia, which also no longer exists. He devised the Boden plan in the late 1990s, which was a controversial but original plan that would have provided for Georgian territorial integrity, but for very special status for Abkhazia within Georgia and a degree of sovereignty. He has eclectic interests, including his instrumental role in the reconstruction of the Amber Room in Catherine's Palace in St. Petersburg. He's a great student of Pushkin, among many other authors. And with that, we'll turn things over to Dieter, who will make a 20 to 30-minute presentation, and then we can open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. I think you've left out none of my sins. Yes, thank you for inviting me here to this wonderful institution, the European House in the very center of Tbilisi. When I came for the first time as a peace resolution worker in June '95, I wouldn't have imagined that you would have a European House at this place in Tbilisi after 15 years. So, thank you for inviting me. I came as a private person. You've, I think, made the point. I'm under no one's instructions. I enjoy the status of a retired diplomat, which in my eyes is the best of all possible statuses in this world. And I have chosen as a subject the conflicts in Georgia, understandably, because this is the area where I have been busy for some 15 years. It was a challenging work, but also one with a sense of frustration, futility, and also failure. And in my remarks, which I'm going to offer you, let me start with this side of the coin, the failure, and also why did the conflict resolution effort in Georgia fail? And of course, we cannot close our eyes to the fact that after the August War 2008, we are farther away from a resolution of these conflicts than ever. Now there is one, I would call it, very simplistic answer to it. The effort failed because Russia obstructed it. As I say, it is simplistic. There is something to it, but I think you need the larger context. And there are others who say the effort failed because due to the non-deliverance of their jobs of the international community. Now, I may be partisan in this matter because I have served for two of these organizations here, but I think this is hardly justified. Over more than 15 years, the record of the international organizations on conflict resolution in Georgia looks rather mixed. But I would think that the achievements outweigh the deficits. And perhaps the time has still to come when the efforts will be duly appraised. And let me mention among the achievements the international organizations, and I include the EU, which is not an organization. They have managed to secure the ceasefire over 15 years under extreme volatile conditions. They have created a breathing space for a peace process with post-conflict rehabilitation, with confidence building and many other things. And they have in the end also laid some groundwork for tackling the most complicated issue, which is the so-called political status issue. And it's a groundwork which still, I think, remains valid in some way. Remember how close we were to a solution of the Ossetian conflict in 2000 with the OSCE brokered so-called Boden papers. And even on the Abkhaz issue, we came close to a solution in the end of 2001 with the distribution of competences paper in which I had some hand. This is not to say that there has only been a brilliant success story with the international organizations. We all know the deficits. There was a lack of vision, a lack of creativity maybe at times. There was a lack of coordination among 3 organizations involved, and there was also a lack of resolve in certain situations, and I would not exclude August 2008. But if we weigh the achievements against deficits, let's not forget about one thing. International organizations act as mediators and facilitators. They support peace processes, but they will not be able to solve conflicts in terms of eradicating the root causes. This must obviously be done by the conflict sides. Which brings me to another item in what I would call a list of deficits. Too often there has been a tendency to simplify the issue of conflicts, to ignore their complexity, and this lasts up to this day. To give you one classic example, there is a version: just let the Russians pull out their troops from the breakaway territories and you will have harmony. Abkhaz and South Ossetians will be happy to return under the roof of a common Georgian state. Let us not fool ourselves. This is illusionary. The 2 conflicts have a very serious intercommunity aspect, which you risk to ignore when you speak about occupation as the key problem. We know that occupation is a key problem, but it's not the only. What we have in Abkhazia and South Ossetia after 3 wars in 15 years are deeply traumatized populations. Incidentally, and I would include, of course, IDPs and refugees on this side. And I have seen that when I went last to Sukhumi in March this year and spoke to an audience of 150 young people in the Sukhumi University. There was a certain helplessness with these young people. There was not hate, but a deep mistrust and, as I said, a feeling of traumatization. Under such circumstances, I think reunification as a purely administrative act would not function. You would have to win the people for it. And this is urgent work that should start immediately in terms of confidence building measures, in terms of reconciliation. Now, another illusion which has come up again and again is that you can solve these conflicts without or even against Russia. We would be wise enough to keep Russia involved. Russia will remain Georgia's powerful neighbor in the north, and it remains a significant player in the region, ready to defend her interests.